We seem to be attentive to outer matters when we are really only thinking about ourselves, as the following story illustrates. There was a teacher who took her small class of small children to a peanut butter factory. And we'll pause there to announce that a peanut butter factory is a lot like this life. There are a lot of nuts around. The teacher took the children to the door, the gate, and a nice, friendly man came out to the gate and introduced himself as their guide. He was going to take them inside and show them step by step how peanuts were turned into peanut butter that you see on your supermarket shelves. So the school bus stopped at the gate, and the guide came up and took them to the factory, and step by step went through an explanation to the wide-eyed children about how peanuts were turned into peanut butter, the various machines and the labor that it took to do all the work. And the children looked at it and watched and made little comments to themselves and chattered a little bit to each other, as children do. And finally, they got all through with the tour of the peanut butter factory, which was marvelous to the children. And the guide collected the children around himself, and he said, "Now, children, you've been through the factory. Do you have any questions?" And one little girl raised her hand, and the guide said, "Fine, what is your question?" And she said, "Did you notice my new dress? See, all the time, that's, oh, what a perfect illustration. That's excusable for a little girl to want attention paid to her new dress." Unfortunately, we can't continue with that self-centeredness. We're supposed to be looking and learning about ourselves by observing outer life and inner life, instead of simply thinking about something personal that we think will do something for us. Your happiness, in other words, does not depend upon what people think about you. Now, how easy that is for me to make it a statement, and how hard it is for us to live it out. Now, listen, just try sometime, like right now, to do something new with the truth. Just listen to it and let that hearing of the words so sink in that you'll want to understand it deeper than the words. I just said that your happiness does not depend upon what people think about you, upon their praise, upon them wanting your company. Now that you have that, I am so delighted to tell you that you can turn that simple advice, that simple lesson, into a practical power that will keep you free from looking around you and seeing other people and wondering what you have to do to get their approval or to get their company or whatever you may want from them. Now, the spirit, the spiritual spirit from on high, whether you know it or not, and whether you've ever experienced it or not, the spirit of truth, the Holy Spirit, is independent of what other people think about you. Now see, there again, your spiritual nature is free of what other people think about you, whether it's something favorable or slanderous. Its existence does not depend, its existence, the spiritual existence, does not depend on anyone over there or over there, not your father or your children or your cousin or strangers. If you live in and with the heavenly Spirit, the divine power, that is all there is for you. Now, in order to understand better the point that we're driving toward, you're going to have to do some work there while I'm working up here. You're going to have a breakthrough, a new consciousness of awareness of how much you are dependent upon the thoughts of strangers, friends, relatives toward you. Worse than that, dependency. There is the sad feeling that somehow you must try to manipulate and train the thoughts of that man or that woman. You must manipulate them so that they will feel and look favorably upon you. Oh, what a mess you're in. Working, straining, hoping that if you give the gift or give the flattery, that they will look favorably upon you, and then you wrongly conclude in this mad script, you wrongly conclude that if they pat you on the back, say, I love you, if they do that, then you will know who you are. I am someone who's appreciated. I'm someone who's loved. I'm someone whose company is very desirable. But there's one thing that you don't notice. That desperate effort to get others to think well of you, it never comes to a satisfactory conclusion. It's a circle. And I will tell you that it is a circle. There are not enough people in this whole world of 4 billion people. There are not enough people to finally give you the assurance you think you must have in order to stop being so nervous about who I am. They're not going to be able to, they don't know who they are in truth. You're asking lost souls to help you find yourself. How can that happen? Pretty ridiculous, right? So now that you have some determination, hopefully, to know, because you could catch it in a flash, that you're always seeking approval, the okay, the smile. You're always seeking that from others, whether you know it or not. But I want you to know that's first. Because if you're not conscious that you want that letter to come, you want that phone call, if you're not conscious of your instability and your desperation, you can't go on to the next step, of knowing that in truth you are a free spirit. In truth you are, but you can't know that until you know that you are not one. So here's your assignment, your exercise for the rest of this day at least. Your alertness will be on seeing that you do exactly what I've described. That even if the checker at the supermarket gives you a favorable comment of some kind, thank you for helping me pack the groceries or whatever, even that was something that you welcomed. Oh, a little welcome compliment. I didn't expect it. There it is. But that told me who I was, and it told me who I was in a nice way. I'm a helpful person. I was nice enough to pack the groceries in. Now, the real reason you wanted to get home, which is right, it's okay. But I'm asking you to catch the subtleties of your own thoughts at the moment it happens. Because once you go out of the grocery store, you're going to be after the next flattery. You've fed off of that while walking out the car. I know who I am. I'm a helpful person. How come you have to keep convincing yourself? That's significant, isn't it? See, we have to go back to another exercise. You've got that one already. Now for another one, which will help you to be free of wanting the favor, the company, the approval of all those people out there, which is only going to attract trouble to you, because you are attracting people that are just like you are. And sooner or later, the bill will come due. It always comes due because they're doing the same thing to you that you're trying to do from them, to get something from them. They want to get something from you. All right. You don't have to seek approval, applause from anyone in order to try to find out who you are, like a nice person, a helpful person, nice partner, or whatever. You do not ever again have to do that. So as you catch it next time, know that that was a false move on your part. That was not necessary to get the smile or the company or the letter. Not necessary at all. Why is it unnecessary to seek happiness in the sunny smiles of others? Why? Why is it not necessary? Because you are not this weakling who needs to seek approval. You are not really that. Which means that you will now, for the rest of this day, for the coming years, you will tell yourself who you are not. See, you're trying to tell yourself who you are. I'm approved, I'm loved, my friend likes me and all that. You're going to tell yourself who you are not. If you don't do this, you will never shed off all these heavy blankets that you have around you that's burdening you down. All right. I am not, this is the exercise for you. I am not my body. Oh, should we stop right there? Just think. You can never again look in a mirror and say, that's me. But that's good news. Yeah. That's good news. Because it means, among other things, that you don't have to look in the mirror and get frightened at what you see. I'm not my body. You're not. If you were your body, you wouldn't be able to live forever if you were your body. It's because you're not your body that you could live forever. I'm not my thoughts. If you were your thoughts, when your thoughts go away, you would go away. I am not my thoughts. How many of you think you're brilliant? Please think again. Rather, please forget the previous thought you had that you were brilliant. You're not your thoughts. Therefore, you were not that person who was so kindly to the checker by helping her fill the sacks with groceries. You were not that helpful person. You just thought you were because, not knowing who you really are from the essential viewpoint, you took a little temporary self and ran around with that for a while, but then you had to go on to the next one. I am not my body. I am not my thoughts. I am not my experiences. Oh, that's a big one. All right. I'll give you a little puzzle to work with. If you forgot right now all your past events, experiences, people you were involved with, and so on, if you forgot all that, who would you be? You'd be no one, which is what you actually are anyway. But what I'm getting, the point for you to get, is that you use your experiences as references to try again to get a solid identification so that you can say, see, that's me. You're not your successes. You're not your failures. Oh, concentrate on giving up your failures. How many of you constantly go back to yesterday or 30 years ago and think of that dumb thing you did? You know why you do it? The same foolish attempt to try to find out who you are. And if you're, because look, you may not have been very good in the past. Maybe you didn't help the checker. Oh, but I can sure find out who I am by saying I'm bad. Not only that, if I was wicked in the past, then I can go on to use that wicked identity to be good. I'll get that too, because I can go and I can go to church and I can pray and I can adopt a philosophy. And then the bad man will turn to be a good man. I tell you, it won't happen. I have to get so many thoughts in here as they come to me. Let's get this one. And it's in the Bible. God's ways are, I'm paraphrasing, God's thoughts are not human thoughts, something like that. You know what I'm talking about. God's ways are not human ways. So it is futile and very tiring to try to use your body, your thoughts, your experiences, your successes and failures to try to find God. The twain shall not meet. There is no way. This should be a consciously startling thought to you, not unconsciously startling. There is no way you can be good. You have no power or authority to be good. You can't even be bad. You can't be good or bad. You can't be anything or anyone. You can't do anything. You can't do anything because you're not there. You don't exist.
What you do all day long is think, right? Driving you crazy, isn't it? You think about yourself. Like the little girl was concerned with what the guide thought about her dress. You think about your life, about the goofs of 10 years ago, about how rich and happy you're going to be 10 years in the future. You think about getting that person or object that you ran across. Now you're going to find ways to get it. I have to tell you, you're doing the wrong thing with your life. Let me tell you what you should be doing. You should be understanding that you have never, ever found anything that puts you at rest. You've never found a quiet spot, location inside yourself where you can go anytime you want, live there all the time if you want, but you have to venture out into the noisy world, of course. But you have never found a place of peace inside you. That's what you have supposed to be spending your life doing. Instead, you have been building your own palace, which you put a label on, Palace of Peace. And guess what you've got inside of your Palace of Peace? Well, I'll start you, and you sing along with me. Inside of your constructed house made with mental hands, you've got your bank account. You've got your memories, right? Same as your experiences, sort of. You can think back. You've got that inside your house of peace, house of contentment, a house of true life. You've got physical contacts. You can talk to people anytime you want. Tell them your troubles, or even listening to their troubles makes you feel important by comparison. Well, at least I don't have that, whatever. You are cramming your life with the exact opposite things. I'll get my grammar better later on. You're cramming your house with things that you vow will make it a temple of peace, palace of peace. Once more, how old are you to yourself? How old are you? Say your age to yourself. You have had that label over your life for all those 30, 80 years. Palace of peace, palace of accomplishment. You've had the label on it. You've had the label without the actual peace itself. All it is a word, series of words that you tell to other people how fast you're going toward a higher happiness. You don't even have lower happiness yet. So the point right here is this. You have to stop doing wrong things. You don't have to do something. You have to stop doing something. You have to stop going out in the morning and collecting all the junk you can and putting it in there and calling it a contribution to your palace of peace. You have to stop living your own life. Now you stop living your own life. You know. I don't have to tell you. Living your own life is the worst thing that has ever happened to you. You don't like it. is evidence that it's a horrible life, how come you're trying to find something else? If you'd liked it, you'd be at peace. If you really had a palace of peace, you wouldn't be making a move to find peace. You'd have it. I tell you, think of a steel wall, like a big one of those thick bank vaults. Think of a big, thick wall, and consider yourself on one side and truth on the other side. That's how thick your wall of resistance and stubbornness is, so that you can't understand what I just said to you. You don't get it. If you were to get it, you would suddenly, you'd be in spiritual stunnation. Get that one down. I may not remember to say it again. You'd be spiritually stunned at what you discovered. And what you discovered, double pleasure. Double your pleasure. See how the world keeps creeping into this talk? Not only am I nothing at all, but that's the greatest news I ever heard. Because if I am not me, I don't have any of the griefs that the me used to have. Oh, what a blunderer I have been. What a Dummkopf. In any language, it's the same dumbness. I really believed in my stupidity. Okay, now please follow this. I really believed that I was a good father, a capable mother, a sharp businessman, a respectful son toward my parents. I believed that I was a leader in my own little way down at the shop there. I lead other people. I believed that I was all these things, including I believed that I was a success, and other times I was a failure, but I believed in myself. All it was thought plus matching mad emotions. I discovered something this Sunday morning. I discovered who I am not, and I am not anything that I used to think I was. And the greatness of it is, I thought that if I disappeared to myself, that would be bad. No. The ending, the absence of all my self-flattering labels, the absence of calling myself something is the presence of true life. Well, those spiritual promises that I heard in Sunday school or in a spiritual book, those promises were actually true. I remember as a 12-year-old boy or girl in Sunday school, the teacher read a Bible verse. And I don't remember it exactly, it's been some years now, But I remember the last part of it. The last part of it said, this Bible verse said, and nothing shall dismay them. Now, I think the first part was something like, if you follow truth, if you devote yourself to God, nothing shall dismay you. That was true. That was true after all. But look. I went for 40 years telling myself, telling my family, telling anyone who unfortunately listened to me. I told them by my words and by my manner, nothing dismays me. I bragged how strong I was. And I thought that Bible verse somehow, I got it. That's the temple of peace filled with your bank account and your activities. Aren't you glad? Well, if you are, be gladder. There's never will be any way you can successfully lie to yourself. It can't be done. Doesn't that give you right excitement? That means that you can start all over with that spiritual verse that said, and nothing shall dismay them. Because now you know what that means. Look. The kingdom of heaven is the kingdom of heaven. It's real. It exists right now. Right now. Right now, there is a kingdom of heaven in which nothing dismays those living there. How could heaven be anything but heaven? Pure, free of troubles, no tears. There are no tears in heaven. No strains, no worries about the future in heaven because it's timeless. Heaven is a timeless thing. So, now look. You have to be very alert to this now. Since heaven is pure, and you can be there, that means you can stop right now, and must stop right now, trying to build your own heaven by getting people to like you, to notice you, by being nice to them so that they'll be nice to you. See, please write down, among other things, write down artificial heaven. See, that's the difficulty. But the supreme difficulty is you never know. It has not occurred to you. You have not been blasted yet inside to where you know that you've been trying to build an artificial heaven made with your human hands, with your circular thoughts. You have been trying to build your own. Let me tell you something, please. Your age once more. It's important. What's your age to yourself? Please say to yourself, after 30, 80 years, if what I was doing was true and right, wouldn't I have found the right rewards by now? Here I am, 45 years old. In truth, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm not going to lie. In truth, at 45, I'm just as sick and scared as I was when I was 25 and 15. Let me tell you, only a very brave man or woman can ever say this. And I want you to be brave and say it. I want you to remember that what I just said about nothing has changed when you're 15 or 25 or 45. I want you to be, this morning, to get the idea of what I'm talking about, to say to yourself all day long this day, take a deep breath. That's a fact. This is you telling yourself now. This is conscious self-talking, which is good. As long as you know you're talking to yourself. You don't know. That's the problem. I want you to say to yourself, it's a fact. Nothing has ever changed. I'm still the same weary wanderer at 45 than I was at 25. I'm still directionless. I still want that object or that person or that thrill to give me some relief. I want you to know that you have been nothing but a complete, absolute 100% failure. Oh, God himself wants you to know that. You haven't done that. You still have hopes. For example, any sort of a sour, bad state is still part of your hopes to be able to find your own heaven, which you'll never do. When you are a bad man, when you're an evil woman, when you have any kind of sourness within, I want you from now on to know that that sarcastic spirit is still, get this, get this, that sarcastic spirit is still a hope of yours to find heaven. You think that being bad can make you feel good? Yes. That's how absurd, which is too mild a word, it is. And to prove that you think that good can come from bad, you're still bad. Yeah, you're bad. You're weak. Weakness is badness. Take that one alone. We could go into details for a long, long time. Weakness itself is badness. You're weak, therefore you're bad. How can either weakness or badness be good? It's one or the other. Oh, now you know what you have to do. You have to give up everything, including your thoughts that you've already done it and are already saved. No one will ever be saved who thinks he already is. And they walk the streets by the billions. Some think they're spiritually saved. Others think they are socially saved. They've got all the goods of this world. Look, if you realize that you're not saved, that's the same thing as realizing that you're lost. Now, if you realize that you're lost, you can also realize that lostness is still, even being lost has to go beyond. You can't even be lost. If you're lost, you're bragging. Bums who roam the streets are physical bums, vagrants, are physical expressions of a certain very evil attitude that says, look at me, I'm a bum. Huh? I'm somebody, I'm a bum. Am I not important? And of course, if you're homeless, if you're a bum, you have a right to demand things of other people, don't you? You have a right to depend on them to give you a home, give you money. Because due to the bad breaks, due to the faults of this world, I'm a bum. Therefore, you owe me something. Oh, shall we have a meeting twice a day, 7 days a week? We need it. Once you know you're lost, you must stop bragging about it. And you must know that you've just played another trick on yourself. Other people are good. I'm bad. All criminals have that identity, by the way. All chronic criminals, arrest record a mile long, they all live from that false identity. I'm a bad man, and then of course they justify it, but at least I'm someone. You may be a no one, but I am someone, and I know who I am, and I've got the arrest record to prove it. I'm someone. All right. Remember the I am not exercise. I am not that friendly neighbor. I am not that go-getter business executive. I'm not that poor, pathetic, left out in the cold waif. Will you please stop talking about yourself as if you're real? How many of you, we'll ask for hands this time. And I'm going to watch too. How many of you suspect that you are a great big fake? Good start. Now don't be proud of the fact that you've got away with it so long, because you didn't get away with it for so long. To be a fake, it really means that you preferred ignorance to enlightenment. This morning, a different choice. Realize that anything you tell yourself about yourself is a lie. Good, bad, indifferent. That is just a thought talking about other thoughts. Your thought self is not your real self, it's a thought self. Your experiences don't make you real. You're real when you cancel all time, when you cancel all attachment to the maniacal behavior of this world, and you say, I now choose, as weak as I am, and I know I'm weak in the right way of saying that. I know I'm weak, but I am going, regardless of what condition I'm in now, I am going to select enlightenment. I am going to select God's way instead of mine from now on. Make that spiritual selection. And remember all this that you've heard this morning, and let the rest of the world go by. Good morning. Here is how to solve your problems. How many are already interested? All right, here's how to do it. Take a piece of paper and write down at the top of it, here is what is wrong with me. Now, underneath that heading, here is what is wrong with me, fill it out. That will keep you so busy for the next 6 months, you won't have time to think about your troubles. All right. Here is what is wrong with me. Now take another clean page and write at the top of that, here is how I'm going to solve my problems. Here is how to solve my problems. Don't you dare write anything under that. Leave it blank. Nothing. You're going to learn tonight something
that should be startlingly refreshing to you, which is this: the what and the how are separated. They are different. The what and the how never, in reality, can occupy the same level. The what is of this earth, the sorrows and the quarrels and the confusion. There's no how on the same level. If there was, the earth would have solved its problems, and it hasn't done that. Now, please never forget what you have heard so far, that the what, the actual condition, the state, and the solution for that state are billions of miles apart. The world, with its whats, its billions of them, doesn't know that, and it doesn't want to accept that. The world wants to believe that it has the solution. How many years have you wanted to believe it? That's why you haven't found it, because you've been thinking wrong about it. You're going to be asked tonight, and on from tonight, to do something that is drastic, which is to see so clearly what I've just explained so far, that the what and the how occupy different levels. So clearly see that never again will you scream out in pain and emotionalism and an outburst. You won't scream out, how can I get over this heartache? How can I get people to like me? How can I feel at peace and in command of myself? You will never do that again. Oh, it's going to require a lot from you, as you will see as we go on further in the talk. But for now, realize that when you have the what, that is, you've named it. You've got this list of 100 difficulties and secret sorrows and conflicts. You've got that list. You must never again try to find the answer in the same place of the what of the sorrow itself. How can it exist? The how is pure, high up. The how, the true how, the spiritual method. Obviously, if it's a true method, which it is, has to be on a different level in a higher world. Now, you're not on that higher world. You're on the one of the suffering, of the difficulty. The secret of reaching the how and having the how reach you is to not believe that you, in your present inner condition, are capable of contacting it, because you're not. Now look, you're to prove to yourself what I'm saying to you. You have to do what I'm going to ask you to do now, and I want you to do it all the time from now on. I want you to notice when you have your list of what's wrong with you, anything, grief, anger, when you have that, notice the automatic, mechanical, old and unnatural urge you have and action you take to try
to find the answer. You can't find anything on the planet Mars. You can't find that on this earth. You can't find within the problem, within your crying out, you can't find the how. Something has to happen to you. You think sharply tonight so you understand the explanation of it. Where there is darkness, delusion, sickness, sorrow, where there is wrongness of any kind, that is all there is. It's the whole business. That's the whole world. See, I make the simplest of statements, but they're so obscure. You don't understand that yet. You don't understand that there is nothing but sorrow in sorrow. There's no help for it. First place, because people don't want help. They love their sorrow. Where there are wars, where there is widespread suffering, revolutions, where there is that is all there is. There is not, and never will be, 1 ounce of how that is of rescue, of health, of healing. There will never be 1 particle of healing on this earth. It's only the what. Now, I said a minute ago, I want you to comprehend this for yourself so that you can see where you're making a mistake after you have this long list of the what's wrong with me. How many have a long list? How many needed 20 pages of paper to write it down? Turned over on the other side, too. When you had that list, you will henceforth watch your mind. Watch its workings, its trickery, its vanity, its self-worship. You have this sheaf of 500 difficulties, quandaries, confusions, and you speak to the list from the same mind that wrote the list, and you say to yourself, I've got to do something about being a loser. It's number 20 on my list. I've got to do something about being a loser. I've got to start being a winner. And then you ask how, and then you unfortunately answer your own question with another thought, another delusion from the same mind that wrote down the fact, I am a loser. Look, it's so easy if you see it. How can a loser tell you how to be a winner? Better write this down somewhere if you get a page left over. A loser is a loser forever. A loser is always a loser. A loser cannot transform himself into a winner. Darkness cannot be changed into light. Down cannot become up. I tell you, you get on to what you're hearing tonight, you get closer to it, and the closer you get, the more nervous you're going to get, the scareder, apprehensive you're going to become, because you will sense that you're getting closer to the true how, to the real answer to your problem. And you will resist. This will come to you later. But for now, as it occurs to you, and it has to not just occur, but it has to overwhelm you like a huge tidal wave. As it overwhelms you, the fact that dark is always dark, defeat is always defeat, tears are always tears. As that occurs to you, you will start to tremble. And I'm explaining it to you so that when it happens to you, you'll know what it's all about. What is happening for the first time in your life is that you're beginning to challenge the lie, the hypocrisy, the selfishness, the stupidity of the what? You're beginning to challenge its authenticity. You see, it has bluffed you. You used to take the what and try to find within the what the how, and then you tried to believe in it, and even when you flopped again, you couldn't say, I must have done the wrong thing. You never ever said that. But now that you understand that getting mad, getting jealous, wanting to get even with people, when you understand that all that is jealousy, wanting the revenge, tears, you'll understand that there is absolutely nothing but the existence of that. There is not even a you who can dissolve the whole list of what's and the wrongness and the anguish. Oh, now do you see why I said you're going to start to tremble? You're worried. You're worried sick, like the masses are. Worried to give up your illusion that you have the ability to create a how, a healing. You're afraid that if you see all there is a sick and wobbly world inside yourself and outside yourself. You are terrified that if you see that darkness is only darkness, Hades is only Hades, then you will also have to face the fact that you can't save yourself from Hades, from inner pain. You can't stop yourself from criticizing, from hating. You will see that you can't stop your own suffering, and you don't want to do that. And here's what you scream out in the world of what's. If I abandon my hope It's all I've got. All I've got is hope. Give up that hope. If I abandon my hope of being rescued from my heartache, if I abandon my hope of eventually making it to some future heaven, if I abandon my hope, what will I have? This is really, I'm illustrating just what happens inside of you all the time and you don't know it. If I know that all I am is a sinner, if I face that, then I'll condemn myself to eternal suffering, because sinners suffer. I don't want to give up my belief that I, as a sinner, can change into a person acceptable to God. I've got to do something about my own salvation. And if I give up my hopeful self, if I give up my hope, then all there will be is a sufferer, and I don't want to give up my hope in transformation. All I have, and all he has, all she has, is my ritualized religion. All I have is my hymn singing. All I have is my reading of what I call helpful books. That's all I have. And if I do what that man said to do in that talk, and see that there's nothing but gloom and weakness and terrible heartache, if I see that that is all there really is in me, then I'll be lost forever. And I am not going to surrender what little bit of strength and hope and faith that I have. I've got to hang on to it in order to survive. Listen to me. You are not surviving as you're seated in this room right now. You are not surviving. There's nothing to survive, nothing real yet to survive, but you don't know that yet. The what nature is perishing. The what nature is completely perishable. The what has no future. It's not in reality. It's only in time and in delusion. You see, unknown to each of you hearing this talk, there is a clinging to a little bit of something that you hope will somehow grow and take away your pains and carry you through and bring you out healthy and happy at last. You have don't miss this now. You have a little bit of hope. Even the little bit of hope and expectation you have is clouds, vapor, nothing. You do understand what I'm telling you? Try, please. I'm telling you, you're dwelling among the land of weird whats will get you nowhere, because it can't get you anywhere. Your dwelling there is a sign of your refusal to obey God's commands. Do you know what God commands you and me to do? I'll use very familiar phrases, and please hear them anew and in a refreshing way right now. You know that you have been told to let go. You've been told to let go and let God. You have heard that. I know you have. You've been told to do that. Now, satanic forces are 1 billion times more cunning than you presently understand. They've fooled you long enough, and tonight you're going to break the pattern. When you were told to give up your egotism, let go, and let heaven do the work for you, when you heard that, you said, hey, that's great. I like that. I didn't want to do the work myself anyway. You agreed heartily. And who was doing the agreeing but just another mealy-mouthed hypocrite? I never understood what that meant, mealy-mouthed. I always think of cornmeal. You can think of what you want. I'm going to think of cornmeal after this. You say to yourself, well, it isn't so bad after all. I can live my life exactly the way I want, and one day I will be saved. Salvation will come to me. Now tonight, you're going to take this drastic step that I talked about. And you don't have to have any bravery, any courage at all to do what I'm going to ask you to do. You don't have any anyway. And I say that so that you don't goof off by saying, well, I don't have the strength to do that. I want you to, as best you can for now, and do better an hour from now, I want you to agree to try to understand that all you have in this whatty world is one what after another. And it is entire bleakness, emptiness. It's all sorrow. It's all fighting. It's all scheming. I want you to do without bravery, because you don't have any, to just agree to face the fact that there is absolutely nothing you can do about your lost life on the level of what? Now, the level of what? I better explain that just a little bit more. That means you asking with your intellect, with your misguided attitudes, with your anxiety, you asking, what can I do in order to lose my unhappiness and be happy? What can I do about it? But the problem is even deeper than that, because you have not become an expert in thought watching yet. So you have to go further back and see that. So that when you become a moment-by-moment thought watcher, you can see the deception, the deceit you play on yourself when you cry out after a problem, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down and write a hot letter to that person. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get busy with something out, working out in my backyard or buying a new car. I want you to become an absolute expert in telling yourself lies that keep you in the wobbly world of what? So that the very next time you supply a solution to any problem at all, small or large, any time you catch yourself supplying a solution to your nervousness, take a drink, tell a joke, read a book, watch TV. Every time you supply the solution, you tell yourself how you will be appalled at the fact that that's all you've ever done all your life, is to deliberately mislead yourself, get yourself into even deeper grief by wandering away from the fact that you must not give yourself answers from yourself. Now I'll tell you something else that I've told you before, and I'd like you to think of it fresh again. If you could have found the way out with the tools that you now have, if you could have, you would have. See, the world doesn't want to hear that. What I just said is the last thing people outside of truth-seeking want to hear, because they're still trapped by what I explained 5 minutes ago. Go over it again. Don't lose this now. The last thing you want to do is give up egotistical hope. You promised yourself at one time that one day you're going to make it, and you don't want to break your promises to yourself. You want to be loyal to yourself. Please understand what it means to be disloyal, because you must be disloyal to yourself. If you don't, you won't be saved. You'll never know deliverance. You'll never own the pearl of great price. See, that's what we're talking about. Getting rid of the unseen barriers to breaking outside of our own nature. Now, you will now dedicate yourself to abandoning the smallest self-suggestion you give to yourself about what constitutes salvation, escape, happiness, the better life, freedom from pain. You will dedicate yourself from this moment on to never again suggesting a solution to yourself, and you'll help yourself do that by asking, where did I get that answer? Well, I got it from the same place I've been getting the answers for all my life. And those answers are destroying me. They're hurting me badly. But you don't see that. You don't understand that the self-trickery is so solidified inside you that you give yourself a ridiculous, stupid, dangerous, destructive solution, and then you fall in love with it so that you can continue to love your egotistical, sick life, and that's what keeps you sick. That's what keeps you sick. Oh. Pray. Pray for the jolt of your life. Only that can cause the crack in this thick armor of egotism you have around you. So that one day, when you're working on yourself, as I've asked you to do tonight, one day when you catch yourself just about to give yourself your answer, what would it be? Find out. Answers to this question. What false answers, solutions came into your mind and maybe went into your body? What ridiculous answers did you give yourself today? Yelling at someone in imagination. Great agony over your inability to break that habit. The worry that you're going to disappoint someone that you want in your life. Worried that you're going to disappoint them, and they'll go away and you won't have them, and then you'll be triply lost because at least they were keeping your loneliness at bay a little bit the next time. Let's pull one example out. It's clearer to follow sometimes when we do that. You fear disappointing someone, and so you sell yourself to him or her or them. You give them something you don't really want to give. You sacrifice, you compromise. You do something you really don't want to do, knowing that it's wrong to do, sensing that it's wrong to do. But you do it anyway because you're afraid that they might leave you, or they might yell at you. But they'll do something that's going to scare you. You're already 100% terrified. How can he terrify you anymore? You're afraid to withdraw and not sacrifice you again for fear of losing them. All right. You understand the process up to that point. You've listened to the talk here tonight, and you're determined to practice it. So you catch yourself just about to give a gift that you don't want to give to someone, to something. Another clear-cut example. Giving someone a compliment because it's expected of you and they'd be hurt if you didn't flatter them a little bit. You're just about to employ a false what? What will keep me in peace and harmony socially, right? You catch the what, and you see now that it's false. And there's no real how in that, because they're not going to be loyal to you because you give them a gift. They're going to be wondering when the next one's coming along. That's right. All this is going through your mind. I know you're getting this. So you understand that the employment of a bribe, flattering someone, is a false how. Artificial solution. A method of madness. No. How you sometimes wish you could stop, but you can't. Of course you can't stop selling your soul to the world. Because you think you have something worth saving, and you don't. You don't even have anything worth saving. Do you really think God would make it necessary for you to have that certain person or that certain wealth or that certain position or that certain advantage, do you think God would make it necessary for you to have this or that in order to be happy? You can't honestly think that, can you? Of course not. So you've caught yourself in this false move. Now comes the time when you're going to have to do something different. Instead of doing the usual what, give the gift, go into daydreams of greatness, instead of doing something, you're going to withdraw yourself from the situation or event, and you're just going to relax, and you're not going to do a single thing at all. Everybody else is out shouting for their cause. Everyone else is out in their delusions of chasing happiness. You stay home. That means stay quiet within yourself, of course. You stay home and don't do anything. You don't employ any solutions, any ways at all to solve your problems. You do nothing about your problems. And when you do nothing, the false "what shall I do" fade away, because you're no longer creating them and sending them out. When they'll bounce back, of course, and hit you and hurt you. They always do. Because you're not creating them, they can't appear and become an enemy to come and hurt you back. Therefore, your energy, your intelligence, and your will being, in this case, what you have chosen to do, you remain, this should sound familiar to you, you remain quiet within yourself because you've understood what we talked about earlier. What do you mean we? I've been doing all the talking. You understand that that was right. All I had was hypocrisy, stupid answers to stupid questions. All I had was ignorance. So no wonder each time I told myself what to do, it was just another dumb trick. And I ended back right where I started, with my own dumbness. Oh, I'm beginning to see the light. Me and my stupidity, me and my arrogance, me in my fury, me and my ambitions, they were all one big stupid package of nothing real. I and my answer were the very same thing. Therefore, my how, my way out, my method was nothing but a bunch of different nothings inside the package of nothing. There was nothing there, whatever, that was real. It was imagination, it was delusion, it was hysteria, it was vanity. Well, thank you, heaven, Thank you, heaven, for showing me that there was indeed the kingdom of heaven within. I didn't know what it was because I was trying to create my own. But thank you, God, for showing me that there is a spark of life that can see, detect, unmask the total darkness that was me. That was my only way. I must have been totally insane. Well, what else is darkness but insanity, right? Darkness is insanity, ignorance. Because I was willing to see that what I called me was a bundle of bleakness, of emptiness, of nothing but sorrow, all darkness. Because I was willing to see that my whats had no validity at all. Because I was willing to let go of my imaginary salvations. Willing to let that go, then God had a chance. Do you know that's it's really all about? Giving God a chance. But as long as I am in the way, he can't do it. Now you have a lot of hard work to do. And start off with this. Self-deceit is 1,000,000 times more powerful in you than you think it is. 1,000,000 times more overwhelming in the world, which is why few ever make it out. But now you know how you want to cling to your own patterns of behavior for saving yourself. And I'll say it again. Tell yourself over and over and over, if I could have saved myself with my own solutions, I would have. I have not. Therefore, I've been kidding myself. I've been deceiving myself and not realizing it. See, it is healthy for you to see that you've had nothing but ignorance, bleakness, emptiness, ignorance, falseness. So try that again. It is good, healthy. It is the start of the spiritual way for you to know that anything you do from your whatty mind, anything you do with that is going to keep you where you are. That, the realization of that will cause a tremendous explosion inside of you, and that explosion will bring its own light with it, and you'll be able to go on from that light to more light and more insight and more freedom. Good night.